and welcome to our English news coming to you from Canal Algeria. First, the top stories of the news. Popular protests in Morocco is expected to take a serious turn with huge demonstrations in the offing demanding investigation over the death of 3 demonstrators. The political and social scene in France is jolted by trade unions calling for strikes and other moves as the level of parliament puts more pressure on the current government. And the assault on Gaza flotilla is sparking more reactions, announcing this attack that defies the international law. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. The UN Secretary General Vai, his spokesman, condemned the violent reaction of the Makhzen security forces with the Moroccan demonstrators, causing the death of 3 people and the injury of scores of civilians. He also called for respecting the right to peaceful demonstrations. Let's have a listen to the deputy spokesman of the UN Secretary General, Farhad Haq.
Of the violence that's happened in these demonstrations, and it's deplorable that according to the reports that at least 3 people have been killed. So from our side, we would urge transparent investigations and accountability for any people found responsible for violating the rights of people who are engaged in peaceful protest.
In the same context, Morocco's youth, led by Generation Z, are challenging the monarchy itself, demanding an end to corruption, repression and decades of uncontrolled power. Details with Najah Tayar.
For the first time, Morocco's Generation Z is openly pointing the finger at the King Mohammed VI, demanding accountability after decades of the Makhzen's rule. Born into internet age, this generation has become a driving force of protest, accusing the monarchy of suffocating institutions, breaking promises and condemning millions to failure. Their message is blunt: enough is enough.
احتجاجات جيل زد يعكس الإخفاق.
Generation Z declares that Mohammed VI has failed blatantly in key sectors of Moroccan daily life, such as healthcare and education. These 2 themes have always been highlighted, but beyond that, young people now insist on the fall of corruption and despotism. Inside Morocco, the protests are treated as if they don't exist, yet they're making the headlines abroad. And the regime, in its answer, has already turned the arbitrary arrests and police crackdowns, not even hesitating to open fire on the demonstrators. The media and civil society have been stripped of their roles, weakened by the centralization of power in the royal palace. To absolve itself, the Makhzen diverts to accusing shadowy forces of manipulating the youth, an attempt that proved to be futile, since the protesters believe this is nothing but desperate excuse. Caught between a government locked down under the grip of Aziz Akhnouch and an absent king, Morocco is going through a political and social storm. It is the old method of always blaming the outside, but this anger comes from Morocco. This anger is not imported. It is a Moroccan generation demanding justice and freedom. Generation Z therefore carries a clear message. It is time to undertake deep reform, but an end to corruption, and finally build a state governed by the rule of law, serving its citizens. Enough of empty reforms. The demand now is to dismantle the Makhzen, bring down a monarchy rotted by corruption, and force a new chapter in Morocco's history.
Still with the Moroccan file, mass protests are shaking the country as anger over repression and social hardship deepens. Hundreds have been arrested, while loyalist networks known as the Zalid rally online in defense of the Makhzen Melissa Lila Baraman.
Protests are spreading across Morocco, fueled by deepening political and social anger. Hundreds have been arrested, activists, trade unionists, and ordinary citizens. Many say the threat comes not only from police repression, but also from ultranationalists loyal to the Makhzen, nicknamed the Zlaji. Accused of defending the regime at all costs, they are especially active online, where critics describe them as a digital army.
These Zlaji focus on the equation of the Zalij and the Qaftan, while people live in poverty. Instead of exposing the failures of those in power, they glorify the Makhzen and its servants from morning to night.
Protesters are now openly blaming the king, holding him responsible for the repression and the crisis. With anger rising and a determined youth at its core, the Makhzen appears weakened, relying on repression to cling to authority as calls for real change grow louder.
From Morocco to France, which is entering one of its most turbulent moments in the Fifth Republic, mass protests, strikes and anger over taxes and pensions collide with the political deadlock, leaving the Élysée struggling for a way out. Melissa Lila Balamat once again.
Pressed by street protests and the parliament's threat to reject the still unformed Le Cornu government, France stands at a crossroads. Weak policies have failed to contain the unrest or guide the country through one of the Fifth Republic's hardest tests.
Je crois que les deux mots d'ordre aujourd'hui pour la politique française.
I believe French politics now face two tasks: easing social anger and public anxiety while still governing. That's why Le Cornu must take responsibility.
Nous arrivons au moment difficile pour le Premier ministre. Nous arrivons à un moment où Monsieur Le Cornu doit prendre sa responsabilité.
Major unions have joined in with weekend strikes, demanding the repeal of pension reforms and denouncing the widening gap between gross and net pay.
When you look at your gross salary and then what's left, the gap is huge. We'd rather pay fewer charges.
A sharp rise in property taxes has added fuel, sparking anger and exposing alleged bureaucratic manipulation. The supposed end of the housing tax is almost cancelled out for property owners, since they now pay about 95% of what they used to when both taxes existed. At the Élysée, vague decisions risk prolonging protests and heightening tensions, pointing to turbulent resumption of social and political activity.
You are still watching Canal Algérie, still to come in our news. The 7th edition of the Algiers International Comic Festival goes on. A big success so far, with 17 countries attending the event. Welcome back to our news. Under relentless siege and bombardments, Gaza remains suffocated, its peoples abandoned, and its hospitals collapsed. And now its survival now is a serious test for the international community, called upon to intervene immediately. Details with Najah Tayyar.
With repeated strikes pounding Gaza street, the air is thick with dust. The Zionist air and artillery attacks have turned entire neighborhoods into ruins, escalating into waves of crimes after the army failed to drive more 500,000 Palestinians from the north. Under air, land and sea siege, Gaza is suffocating. Hour by hour, homes are obliterated, families refusing to flee are slaughtered, and the blood of innocents fill the city's streets. Yet, even amid the destruction, rescuers and medical teams risk everything to pull survivors from the rubble.
We were alerted to the targeting of buildings in the Thawra neighborhood. When we arrived, we found injured people, including children and others, still trapped under the rubble, whom we are striving to rescue.
Most of Gaza's hospitals are now out of service, leaving the wounded with no beds, no medicines, no blood, thus no chance for urgent life-saving surgeries. It's high time for people with conscience to make a move and save these helpless, isolated civilians in Gaza Strip, which is being directly targeted by the Zionist occupation forces. Denying the wounded medical care is a permanent stain of shame on the occupation, which its actions and very existence must be condemned every day. Until Gaza gains the peace it has long been denied.
A report compiled by our field reporter there, Wissam Abu Zaid, was still with the latest developments in the Palestinian file. The interception of humanitarian flotilla bound for Gaza has turned into a global symbol of defiance, exposing attempts to silence solidarity while fueling even greater support for Palestinians. Najah Tia once again.
The ship carrying the international human rights activists intending to deliver relief to Gazans, called the Manico, part of the global humanitarian flotilla Sumud, was heading toward the coast of Gaza carrying humanitarian aid. Tracker data shows the vessel crossed the 42 nautical mile limit before its GPS signal vanished. Everybody! The Manico's mission failed when it was intercepted and seized by the Zionist Navy just a few miles from the Gaza coast. The last remaining ship in the flotilla, the Marinette, met the same fate. It was captured and forcibly towed to the port of Ashdod, and its activists were arrested and imprisoned. Organizers of the flotilla view these actions as a clear violation of international law and an attempt to suppress worldwide support for Palestinians. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged the Zionist entity to uphold the international maritime law and ensure the activists are treated with dignity. Numerous online testimonies have been circulated featuring activists affirming that their viewers are seeing the video only because they have been arrested by the Zionist occupation forces while participating in the global humanitarian action Sumud. Despite the ship's failure to reach their destination, their journey stands as a powerful symbol, demonstrating a strong determination to deliver aid despite obstruction, and has sparked a wave of solidarity that has inspired other initiatives, including several countries announcing their intention to send humanitarian aid to Gaza.
Back to Algeria sports now. GS Kabylie defeated Paradou AC with 2-1 as part of the 7th week of the National Football Championship. The second game, which brought together Ambir Resetu, Siab Belouizdad, ended in 1-1 draw. Let's follow the highlights of these two games.
شوف الانطلاق الآن من رمضاوي، راح رمضاوي، مرة رمضاوي، الهدف الأول لأتلتيك بارادو. حميدي ماذا سيفعل الآن حميدي؟ يبحث عن التوزيع، صعبة، رياض بودبوز يعدل النتيجة لشبيبة القبائل. حصار من هناك، انطلق صار، هل سيوزع؟ يوزع صار، خطيرة، خطأ في دفاع أتلتيك بارادو.
نور بن الحسيني التحضير باتجاه نوفل خاصة يلعب الكرة عرضية خطيرة، والأهداف اللقاء لمصلحة الشباب في الدقيقة 59 بخطأ فادح من فتاو حميدو. في القائم الأول داخل منطقة الجزاء، الرأسية جاء التعادل من نفس اللاعب فتاو حميدو. قال أنا من سجلت بالخطأ في مرماي، أنا من كنت سببا في تسجيل الشباب، أنا من سيعيدكم إلى أجواء المباراة. نعم مشاهدينا الكرام متابعينا أينما كنتم حيثما تواجدتم، يعلن الحكم الرئيس إسماعيل حملات عن نهاية أطوار هذه المباراة.
Sensational goals indeed. Let's delve now into the realm of art and creativity. The 17th Algiers International Comic Festival is back, bringing together artists, fans and professionals from 17 countries with workshops, cosplay, exhibitions and Egypt as a guest of honor. The event once again turns Algiers into a global hub of the ninth art. Melissa Lila Balaman.
We are at the 17th edition of the Algiers International Comic Festival. As in past years, it is a great success, with 12 workshops on drawing, script writing, and coloring for children. Teenagers and adults are also involved, many showing their passion for manga through cosplay, with Egypt as guest of honor.
This event reflects Algeria's cultural diversity. The country has built a true school of comic art, in tune with its traditions, identity and youth. Comics, a universal art and borderless language, deserve our support. That is the mission of the festival and the Ministry of Culture.
Italy, France, Spain, Japan and Canada are among 17 countries taking part. FIBDA remains a place for exchange, where authors and publishers from around the world meet a passionate audience.
Here at FIBDA, we're really thrilled to have two American guests with us who will be interacting with Algerian artists and those dropping by FIBDA. Alexandra Gaydon-Turek is a historian and studies Algerian comics.
I'm here because it's the best way to discover the incredible work of Algerian artists. This year we launched an Algeria-Japan manga competition. The best works are on display, visitors can vote, and we're supporting manga workshops with a Japanese mangaka.
With 19 conferences and exclusive exhibitions, FIBDA confirms its role as a crossroads of the ninth art by being a cultural bridge that shines a light on Algiers internationally. The event runs until October 5th, not to be missed by comic enthusiasts.
That's the end of it. Keep tuning to our channel, program Sika. Bye-bye for now.